Okay, so on the right, we have your standard Rhino ramps that I purchased from AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts. And on the left, we have the Eastwood detachable car ramp set. You can tell there's a pretty substantial size difference both in length and width. The height looks to be pretty similar. I think probably measure it, but the Eastwood ramp might be a little bit taller, but it seems pretty negligible. And obviously the other major difference is that the detachable ramps are detachable. So once you have the car up onto the ramp, you can move this part out of the way and have more access to underneath the car than if you were using something like the Rhino ramp. I'm also hoping that with the longer ramp, there's a better approach angle, and I wouldn't have to use anything like a piece of wood or something to get the dude staying up onto the ramp. So we're gonna try out the Eastwood ramps today and see if they seem like they are a worthwhile purchase for the garage. Okay, so another thing, just before we get started, I'm just gonna note that the Rhino ramps definitely move more easily than the Eastwood ramps. And I think a big part of that you'll notice is that they have these little like rubber stoppers on the bottom, and then on the Rhino ramps you don't have anything really. Okay, I should have been recording, but I just pulled it up onto the ramps, got my chalk blocks in the back, safety first, and I pulled the vehicle in and then I just lined up the ramps, and it makes a huge difference that they're wider than the Rhino ramps, and that stability from having those rubber stoppers, whatever they're called, on the bottom, that seems to make a huge difference too, because I didn't have any movement from the ramps when I was pulling up onto them, and I'm here by myself, which, you know, maybe that's counter to safety first, but I did not have any luck in the past getting the car onto Rhino ramps without someone helping like guide from the outside of the car. Aside from lifting the car up with the jack and then just putting the Rhino ramps underneath the front wheels, which is dumb, but it worked the time that I needed it to. But it was annoying that I had to do that. I had to still use a jack. Particularly so because now my jack sucks, doesn't work. I got to get a new one or find a way to fix this one. But I did just want to see how these do as far as getting the car onto them without any issues. So far, pretty impressed. And also there was no clearance issues. I didn't see when I was pushing the ramps up to the front to line them up with the wheels. On the Rhino ramps, I'll get some, like, the ramp itself will rub against the this little like lip spoiler on the front bumper, and I did not have any of that with the Eastwood ramps. So now we're gonna try and see how it does with the taking the sectional piece out. Seems pretty straightforward. I got some strollers in the way. So now the question is, can my fat belly fit underneath the car? I'll probably put some jack stands under just to create additional safety precautions, but yeah, I mean, upon initial glance, it seems to be better than the Rhino ramps, but the space is not great. Now that I'm laying down here, it would help if I was a smaller person, but yeah, I think like, so what I was gonna try to do today was try to get access to the shifter from underneath, so I can just check and see if the Blowfish racing bracket that I installed last year, or maybe 2021, is it seems fine from driving, but I've just been wanting to double check the hardware and just make sure everything is tight and secure. I don't think I'll be able to get there with just the ramps. I'm wondering if maybe I could give myself a little extra leverage by putting some planks behind the rear wheels, but I still think it'll be pretty tight. I might just see if if one of my jacks would work to get one side up a little bit more to give me a little space, but yeah, I think for the purposes of like oil changes and maybe some stuff where you need to get access to the front, this is a pretty good option. I'll take a look here. And you can see that up front there's a little bit more space. I think you could probably access the oil pan pretty easily. It's a little bit tight, but I think definitely better than with the Rhino ramps. So let me brainstorm here and see how I'm going to go about getting the try and see if I can get underneath here, but yeah, stand by. So I made my my stupid attempt to use those boards, and they went flying into the driveway. It's a good thing I didn't have another car here or a person. So, yeah, wouldn't recommend that. I have accomplished nothing so far. I think I'm gonna go get some lunch. I took a risk and went to Burger King. The fries are reasonably hot. I was waiting in the line at the drive-thru, and I was like, man, I kind of want that Bacon King. Like, just meat, cheese, and bacon. And then I was like, man, I'm kind of getting old. So I convinced myself that if I got a Whopper, which at least has some vegetables on it, that would be less bad than getting a Bacon King. I'm not sure if the science backs that up, but it'll work for me for now. So I also went to AutoZone, and I bought a new scissor jack, which I'm hoping will kind of be like a decent replacement for the jack that comes with the Mustang. It's like 50 bucks. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to use it, so, but it seems like I could lift like one side of the car at a time in the rear and get enough like improved ground clearance or whatever so I can get my fat ass underneath the car. I was actually able to reach underneath the shifter and just check a couple of the bolts that hold the Blowfish racing bracket to the actual transmission, and it seemed really secure. Like, I mean, I torqued all the things to spec per the instructions when I did this, but I still just had this like constant worry that it was gonna be loose. I think part of that is because the like Lopi cam idle tune that comes with the Ford Racing track cal, it just shakes the car a lot, and I was like convinced that that was eventually going to loosen the hardware, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of my afternoon in the garage. Stand by. I just recorded me driving the Fox Buddy up onto the new ramps, and I think my phone automatically connected to Bluetooth and just stopped recording after like 50 seconds. So I got like none of the useful footage, but basically did the same thing as with the Coyote with the dude stang. It was pretty easy. I think that in terms of just based on, you know, 2.5 attempts to get a car onto these ramps, they're definitely better than the Rhino ramps, just simply because of the clearance, the better clearance for lowered cars. The 2014 Mustang is lowered, and the Fox Body is lowered in the front, or lowered in the rear. So I guess the front ride height might be a little lower than stock because it has Coney struts, but that was less of an issue with the Rhino ramps, but I haven't tried it since, you know, after I still have to put the front suspension parts in and get the rest of the car lowered. But just simply by, you know, based on the first few attempts, this is a much better ramp kit than the Rhino ramps. And yeah, I think, you know, until I figure out a way to, you know, get underneath the car, like if I lose maybe 30 pounds or, you know, figure out something where I can get the rear raised a little bit, I think it's definitely good for like oil changes and you know, maybe some random engine bay maintenance that you need to get underneath the car to access things. I mean, you can tell just by looking at here that the Fox body has a lot more space to, you know, to move around. It's just a higher car, and yeah, so like you can get under here pretty easily. I would say, you know, even going in on the sides looks like it would be easier with this car for sure than the 2014 car. So yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, if you're looking for something to do, you know, routine maintenance, rather than, you know, relying on a jack and jack stands, this seems like a pretty good option. Definitely better than the Rhino ramps. I don't know if one of these would work with like a, you know, much lower car like a Corvette or a Viper, or some of the Porsche cars, but you know, for Mustangs, this seems to be a pretty good option. And I assume that would work with some other cars that have even better clearance with no problems. So I think I'm quite happy with this. I just wish that it was a little bit, that it gave a little bit more clearance on the dude stang. But I, you know, simply based on this first, you know, attempt, this is definitely a pretty good option. It seems like the ramps are pretty good quality, and just like having the ability to move part of the ramp out of the way to get more to get more space, and just having that longer angle of entry, or, you know, better angle of entry with a longer ramp and a wider ramp makes it a lot easier. So yeah, that's my thoughts initially. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do much else here. I had some things I wanted to do on both cars, but you know, I always have more ideas than I do time. So I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, so for the purposes of this video, I'm actually not going to attempt to put either of the cars on the Rhino ramps, because that would be disastrous, and I'm sure it would be funny and entertaining on some level, but I don't even want to try when I'm by myself. And yeah, I think if you're going to pick a winner here, it's definitely the Eastwood detachable ramps. Pretty solid product.